We know what you do on your computer every day. That's identifiable, that's trackable, we can see it. Yes, it's a different perspective. It's scary at first. It sounds like a big deal, but it's not as big of a deal as many people make it out to be or think.
So there is no graduation for cybersecurity experts as well. It will be always growth. It will always be learning.
If AI is creating the attack and AI is defending against the attack, which AI wins? I don't know, flip a coin, right?
Hi, Ryan. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Sunny. Thank you for having me today.
I appreciate you joining us today and your strategic partnership with IT by Design. You have been an amazing partner for us for many years now. And our partners love you guys, and we look forward to seeing you at Build It as well.
Absolutely. Looking forward to being there as well. Just a few weeks away at this point.
Yeah. So I want to start with your journey, Ryan. So you have a very rich and inspiring journey. Can you share with our viewers a little bit more on your career journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Most of my career, prior to joining ThreatLocker, has actually been in the MSP space. A few year stint in corporate IT, and then back to the MSP. Of course, honestly, that was before we called them MSPs. But yeah, that IT service provider space. I spent so many years there. I've done almost everything right in that space. I've been the engineer. I've been the service manager. I've been the sales rep, been the account manager. I've been the director of the organization. So it's really served me well, today in working with ThreatLocker and working with MSPs on a regular basis. Really helps me, understand what it is that they're going through. When they talk about, security, they talk about how they interact with their customers and trying to get them on board with security. I've been through that. I've been there. I've had those meetings. I've had those conversations. It really has served me well. It's been, I really enjoy those conversations because I can really relate to what they're going through and the many experiences that they have.
Yeah, and I think it's a blessing when you're able to go through that journey where you have taken different roles, because then you can see that 360. Right, and otherwise you have very singular focus when you don't have very diverse experience.
Yeah, absolutely. You're exactly right. That diverse experience is super helpful. Every role has its own perspective. And obviously drawing all of those together is key. But when you have people who have actually been in multiple of those seats, it helps. It helps to bring that together and to look at it from more than just one perspective and see it from all those different angles, which is super helpful.
100%. So that leads me to my next question. When it comes to ThreatLocker, you are the cybersecurity experts. You are well known not only in the channel, overall in the nation, where you have that trademark strength as a company. Unique capability that you have is cybersecurity. So, what are you seeing in the space when it comes to cybersecurity today?
Yeah, I mean, look, the attacks, the methods of attack are ramping up, changing. We're seeing more and more organizations get attacked. I mean, there's charts into statistics. Some of the numbers are staggering, right? And yet we're investing so much in cybersecurity, and I don't want to say it's not taking effect because the attacks are so much more prevalent, right? So it doesn't mean just because the numbers of attacks are going up doesn't mean that nothing that we're doing is effective. But sometimes you wonder, right? When you see some of the numbers, you're like, what are we doing here? But yeah, I mean, the way that attacks are carried out are getting, at times very sophisticated. And then at the same time, some of the basic tactics are still being effective as well, right? So you see both sides of it. You see the basic things that are still getting through. It's very difficult, to try to keep all of those things, in mind and have all of those defenses in place to protect from all of those different types of attacks. But that's what we're setting out to do. Yeah, it's not going away anytime soon. That's for sure. And we're constantly trying to have to adjust to what we see going on, and striving to provide a level of protection for our customers.
Yeah. So what I heard you say is that attacks are uh, still probably the overall magnitude of cybersecurity attacks, and the way they're happening is very sophisticated. The method. Can you give me a quick example there? Like any specific example? Like what do you mean by sophisticated methods being used for cybersecurity attacks nowadays?
Yeah. So let me think. I don't know if I have a very specific example right off the top of my head here, but I think what I'm referring to is kind of maybe it's the layers, the multiple layers that often occur. There's a point of entry, there's an access.
Mm,
Whether that's through something like a reverse shell, even a rogue remote access tool, could even be a vulnerable application. Office, a little while back had a kind of big one, and we patch software. Seems like every day to fix a vulnerability. So the way that attackers will gain that initial access, perform reconnaissance in a lot of creative ways that are less likely to be detected. The way that they're scanning the network, trying to find what resources are available to extend their attack to, moving laterally around the network, creative ways to get passwords, brute force attacks in ways that are not as detectable. One example, as we had one that we got involved with, where they used net use as a method to establish a connection and keep retrying passwords. If you've been a network administrator, you've probably seen situations where there's something broken somewhere, and NetUse keeps trying to reconnect, and there ends up being like thousands of denies, and after a bit, somebody says, that's not useful, just ignore that. And so when those kinds of things occur, and now an attacker uses that method to brute force, now you're not getting the alerts on that anymore. And so then you get a password, then you get access to a server, and now you're encrypting data, stealing data. So a lot of times there's a lot of layers jumping from point A to B to C to D to E to ultimately dropping a payload. And they're being very resourceful in in the way that they go about that and figuring out how to get access to that next layer where they can perform a more, a better, more widespread attack, I guess I would say, right? Because gaining initial access through an application vulnerability, well, you're limited to what that application can do if that's all you do, right? But the ability to then move from the vulnerable application to other parts of the system, get to something like PowerShell, where we can do widespread damage, or RDP access into a server, where we can have some significant impact. That's the unique part, and the way that they move around and find where the real value is and where they can do the real damage to get that ransom payment.
got it. And anything changed in terms of target market for these bad actors? I know first a lot of big companies, then mid market, then a lot of small companies, and then a few years ago there were the MSPs were the target, and they will probably gain access to the RMM type of server and then go into SMB market through MSPs. Are you seeing anything shifting there, or things are staying the same in terms of who is being targeted more?
Yeah, I don't know if there's been a significant change there in my mind. I think MSPs are still under attack. Hopefully, as MSPs, hopefully security leaders in the industry, we're doing a better job at protecting ourselves.
Yeah,
But I absolutely think that MSPs remain a target. We've certainly seen situations where they were. Now, it's sometimes it's hard to know if it was a targeted attack or if it just it was an attack and it happened to be at an MSP, right? We don't always know where the what the reason for the attack is, right? I think the mid market, to be honest, or maybe even on the smaller side of the mid market, the attacks are significant there because they're kind of in that in between space where they might not have an MSP, they might have a small internal team, and they may not be as on top of security as they could be, or they just might lack the resources. It's not always an expertise. Sometimes it's just time. and and budget, right? Maybe they don't have as robust of a security posture as they could. And so I think those become a little bit quicker, easier targets. Yeah, they might not get the big payday of a big guy, but they might be easier. And those are the ones that fly below the radar. They don't hit the news. Nobody sees the small medium business, a few hundred, even a few thousand users, unless they're in your town, perhaps, but or you do business with them. But outside of that, they're not making national news, and they get compromised every day. Um, and so I think those are kind of the quicker, easier wins for the attackers to try to get some payments. Look, the big organizations still get attacked, and those are the ones we read about in the news when they happen. But they're harder, right? They have a lot of money that they're spending on security. It doesn't mean they aren't under attack. They're denying and stopping attacks every day as well. Harder to get through, but then when they do, look, obviously the impact is more significant.
Yes, no, 100%. And I mean, I haven't heard any major kind of incident, especially after that one major company that was targeted in the channel, where there was a lot of news everywhere, including national media. But after that, I won't name the company, but I did not hear too much in the news, at least. But I'm sure that those attacks are still happening, especially not only MSPs, but vendors that are servicing MSPs, right? Where they're providing technology to MSPs to make their job easier to remotely manage all the devices. Now, how are you thinking about the role of AI in the cybersecurity space?
Yeah, it's a loaded question, right? Because AI means so many different things and can have a lot of impact. I think you know, from a ThreatLocker perspective, we're careful. We want to be careful in how we utilize AI and how we rely on AI and what we expect AI to do for us, right? There's a lot of in the industry where AI is just going to solve all of our problems. And if we just use AI, it's all going to be better. To me, it's falling back into kind of the old method, of technology and security where we're wanting the machine to decide if something that's going on is good or bad,
Mhm.
right? And there are some things that obviously it can do that on, but there are some things that are not inherently bad every time that they occur, but they could be bad. A remote access tool, just for a sake of an example, if somebody remotes into your machine through a remote access tool, that's not inherently bad. It could be your IT person. But what if it's not? What if it's somebody else, right? How does AI know that that connection was or wasn't supposed to occur, right? Those become very, very difficult for any kind of machine to make that kind of a decision, right? So, I think I lean towards the use AI to give you information, present that in a maybe easily more digestible manner. But I still believe that a security expert and a human is going to make a better decision.
Mm.
Again, AI can aid with that, AI can assist. But if you solely are saying, we're going to let AI decide if what is going on here is good or bad, sooner or later, it's going to make a wrong decision because there's too many areas and situations where, like, just that very simple illustration where it's just, you just don't know. Unless you have more background information, you just don't know if that connection is legitimate or not. So when we think about AI, we think about it a lot from the attacker's perspective. How is an attacker going to leverage AI, and how are we going to defend against that? Because again, AI can morph attack methods very, very quickly, very, very easily, and be done by people who are not as skilled as it used to require. We play with different scripts. We play with things like reverse shells, and a lot of security tools will block a reverse shell attempt, and then we'll get AI to modify that for us in some way and obscure the code and things like that, or obfuscate the code, and then suddenly it gets passed, right? Because it's now new and different. And so we look at those things and say, if AI is going to be used by the attacker, we now have a much wider umbrella of people who are capable of attacks because it doesn't take an expert coder anymore to write code. You can get AI to do a lot of it for you. Maybe you tweak it a little bit. You make some adjustments, but you don't have to be as skilled. And then you can rely on AI to make the changes for you and update it and change it so that it's more difficult to detect. So we probably spend more time on that side of it, thinking about how AI is going to impact the attackers and how we're going to provide a defense mechanism against them than we do completely trying to use AI as a protection method. Again, there's a place for it. There's value there, but we're very careful that we're not making that the sole decision maker, the sole control factor for sure.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, Ryan, is that there will be always human being behind AI-powered cybersecurity tools, and that is really important to have because otherwise, one thing that I'm seeing is that AI, like all the bad actors, they're using AI as well, AI powered. Kind of, they are AI powered teams as well. And then on this side, AI is also like the AI is protecting, so it's like AI fighting with AI a little
Exactly.
bit
Yep.
with human beings behind it though, because when you see a lot of social media content nowadays, and I see that AI is creating, AI is responding, and AI is talking to each other. There is not too much human being. There are not too many human beings involved there with the LinkedIn exchange of information. And I'm like, the whole purpose is being defeated now. Like where the whole idea was for social connection, it's becoming now more like an AI connection.
Right. Yeah, it is. And you made a great illustration, and it's something that I've used in some presentations that I've done is if AI is creating the attack and AI is defending against the attack, which AI wins? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know, flip a coin, right? Sometimes one's going to win, sometimes the other's going to win. And so that's why, we talk about you need to be careful. It doesn't mean you don't use it. But be careful on how much you rely on it, as the ultimate decision maker.
100%. And now, last question. If I'm a MSP listening to Ryan right now, what is Ryan's number one advice for the MSP? So, what's your number one advice for our viewers?
You know, I think, if you haven't taken a look at what I'll call zero trust. I know it's a very broad term and it can be used a lot of ways, but I'll use that for simplicity for now. If you haven't, you really, really should. And it's not just ThreatLocker. Yes, that's the place that we're in, but it's a concept, right? It's a theory, it's a methodology into how you go about security. I feel like for many, many years, we've taken what I'm going to call a legacy technology, which is to detect the threat. And we've continued to build on that and make that better. And we've done that. Many organizations have been very successful at detecting a lot of things. But I think we all have to admit there is nothing that can detect everything. And so, the flip side of that, the alternative, the modernized method, if you will, is the zero trust concept. Is we don't know everything that's bad. We can actually identify what's good or expected and known. We know what you do on your computer every day. That's identifiable. That's trackable. We can see it. Um, and so, yes, it's a different perspective. It's scary at first. It sounds like a big deal, but it's not as big of a deal as many people make it out to be or think. So, take a fresh look. Think about a new perspective instead of constantly chasing the threat. Uh, be open to a new concept, a new methodology from a security or for a security perspective, and don't be scared of it. Don't be scared of it. Many organizations very very successful with it. And so yeah, my advice is to start down that path. Right. You don't flip the switch one day with a completely new methodology. But it's time to start that journey, I think, and take a look at it and see how we can move security into the next phase.
Yeah. So always be learning. always be trying new methodologies, things that are working. Like we put together, Ryan, like working, not working, insights, actionables, just for continuous growth. Because what we believe in is growth never graduates.
Right.
And so there is no graduation for cybersecurity experts as well. It will be always growth. It will always be learning. And when you said zero trust, what comes to my mind is with this is zero trust but verify. And here zero trust but verify 100% or 100% verify.
Right.
Zero trust, 100% verify. I think that was a great conversation, Ryan. Thank you so much for coming to my show. Truly appreciate you, and we look forward to see you at Build It. We truly appreciate your partnership there. And any last message or word for people that are coming to Build It?
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I have a couple of sessions there that I'll be presenting. So be glad to meet the people that are there. Looking forward to it. And should be a great couple of days.
Yes. And what can people expect from your session?
So so I have a couple of sessions. Oh boy, I have to go remember what I'm going to talk about. So the one is kind of a general security. One of them is going to be some very practical steps to secure an environment. And not all ThreatLocker, things as well. It's very general things or things that can be accomplished in multiple ways. And then I'm also doing a session on leadership transitioning, technicians and contributors into leadership positions as well. So I think those are the three that I have slated for Build It.
Yeah. And one unique thing that we do is every educator, every thought leader, they come up with a tool or template, and I'm sure that your templates, your tool is going to be best in class and amazing. So if you are listening to this and you're interested in talking to Ryan ThreatLocker in the first week of August in the New York City metro area, Jersey City Exchange Place, come join us at Build It and join Ryan's sessions. And we look forward to seeing you there. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Sunny. Appreciate it. See you soon.
Thank you for watching Sunny's Silver Linings. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.